I have been listening to the audio version of A People's History of the United States. This is one of the most important pieces of literature that you can get your hands on today. And you can get your hands on it today. But the way that things are going with this fascist-ass regime, you might not be able to get your hands on it, in the not too distant future. This is an actual history of this country. It is so necessary. It is obvious to me that one of the main reasons that we as a collective are so complacent about our conditions is because we know so little, virtually nothing, about what has actually happened and been being done to us since those people arrived here on our land, right? And because we're so removed from not just the most distant history, but relatively recent history, we are not as in tune with the severity of our circumstances and the seriousness of how we need to be moving as we should be, because we don't have the proper fuel. We don't have the proper fuel. We don't know what we should know so that we could be motivated like we should be. You think about if you have, and this has happened a million times, it's happening right now. Right now, there's some kid who is looking up to his older brother, and he's maybe 10, and his older brother is maybe 17, 18 years old. And, he's doing whatever he's doing, whether it's legit, illegit, whatever. He's looking up to his older brother. And before tomorrow, that older brother, for whatever reason, is going to lose his life. That kid, because of that loss and because of its immediacy to him, because it's a loss that he is not being told about by his mother or father or aunt or grandmother, about something that happened before he was a gleam in anybody's eye, but himself, it's a loss he's directly connecting with. He will be impacted by that. He will be motivated to do certain things, act in certain ways under certain circumstances, because he has a direct connection to that event. So he might, in the case of his brother being killed, hustling or whatever, like case in point, Young Thug, he might be motivated to behave in a more severe way in response to a perceived threat. But that nigga talking crazy, I ain't like the way that nigga was snapping. He was saying shit that was kind of like, like he really meant that shit type shit. And, that based upon his experience and the trauma he has from having lost his brother, whatever, may make him respond in a way that had he not had the experience of that loss, he wouldn't respond. He wouldn't take it that seriously or be inclined to go, that far. And because many of us do not know what we have really been subject to, we think we know what we're being subject to now. But if you don't have context for what's happening now, then you're really not giving what's happening now the degree of credence that it warrants. You're not taking it as seriously as you should be taking it. You're not as motivated by the fact that 21 years young DeMar Travion Trey Reed, the student at Delta State who got found hanging on the campus, as you should be by that. You're not as impacted by that as you should be. That should cause, especially young people who are on college campuses around the country, especially in these southern states, as so many of them are, it should cause them to shift. It should cause them to have heightened awareness. And if I don't know what happened with this young man, right? But if this young man had been more in tune with the historical context of what's happening now, then he would have most likely been more inclined to be more aware of his environments to lessen the likelihood of what may have happened to him happening to him. It's because he lacked a closeness for what we have experienced historically dealing with white people, with racist white people, racist, nationalist-minded, white supremacist white people, right? If it's not enough just to have a passing awareness that, oh, a lot of white people are racist. I seen this young white kid today talking about how every white person knows racist white people, every single one, which everybody in the comments is like, yeah, y'all are just finding that out. We know that. He was talking about how his mother's parents and his father's parents are both racist, and his parents are racist. And he made a point to say that they're Republicans, right? And his expression was the kind of awareness, contextual awareness that I felt or feel that his young melanated contemporaries should have. They should be aware of the generational impact. He was saying how his parents apparently never questioned the racist indoctrination they were receiving from their parents, but of course, because your survival is tied to your parents. If you don't believe like I believe, then you're subject not to be treated as well, loved as much, cared for as much, right? If you're not validating, people with small minds have an outsized need to have their ideas validated. And people, for the most part, don't really have any power or dominion over anything other than the children that they have. So if they're going to impose on anybody, they're going to impose on those children. And if you don't think and act and believe like I think, act and believe, then you're going to have unpleasant, developmental experience, And when the young white boy expressed what he expressed about his generational awareness of this passed down racist indoctrination, he was basically putting the now into a historical context. We commonly, the common cat that we come into contact with in our daily interactions, I mean, more so you than me, I'm on a fucking farm. But, when I am out and about, somewhere up top, down the way, and I'm interacting with cats, I'm hyper aware of the fact that based upon the things they're saying, it's like I was talking to the audience when I was doing We're All Set, and if y'all haven't caught that, go to YouTube, check out We're All Set, check out the live audience podcast interview I did with the two brothers on that show, and see how I was talking about. They were asking me questions that it was obvious they have no context for you. You're asking questions in a way that assumes all these things that are not true. And this is a general condition that I have observed in my movement in life, and this is a fucking problem. This is a real problem because basically you don't know what the fuck is going on. Is what I'm saying. You don't know what's going on, even though you think you know what's going on. There's so little actual understanding of that, like with this thing that happened with this young man. And cats will hear it and they'll be like, oh yeah, random comment, mostly a comment that's going to have some type of cohesion with everybody else's comments so as to feel included and on par with everybody else. But beyond that, I have no real understanding of the significance of this event whatsoever and how it is really connected to me and the experience that I'm having or am likely to have. It's bad. It's very bad that we're this ignorant of everything. And in the process of listening to this A People's History of the United States audiobook, which I'm sure is probably available free on, I got it on Audible, but it's probably available free on YouTube. I experience a host of emotions. Most of it is disgust and disdain, anger, but it sharpens my blade, and I manage and moderate my emotional responses. What it helps to put into context is the fact that there's been a handful of people who have been at the basis of all this shit. And they victimize not just melanated people, they victimize their own people. And they make them tools of their own, I'm trying not to use words that people don't commonly have context for. Their own criminality, their own greed, their own conspiracies and shit like that, to basically undermine everybody. It's a handful of people who feel that they are the ones most entitled to a quality of life. And they manipulate everybody else. The shit that women were going through in the 1800s and prior was even the wealthy ones, the ones who were attached to, the captains of industry, the robber barons, the fucking thieves, these cocksuckers right here, the Kaiser Wilhelms and all those motherfuckers, right? The Meyer Amschels, Rothschilds and shit like that, right? Later on, the Rockefellers and so forth. Like, these people are a small group. They're not the kind that, like, you don't see these people. These aren't the white people that you think you're dealing with. These aren't the white people